Chapter 5 is mostly about the biomass, environmental conditions control, their disturbance. How does the vertical certification differentiate life zones in ocean? We'll cover some forests, their effects, and mostly about climate and biodiversity about these chapters. How this biodiversity benefits its communities. So territorial biomass, we call large biological communities biomass. So biomass is just another way to express larger communities. And when I say communities, we are always related to the living creatures are living in, called organism. So those living, and with all the stuff from resources, from everything related to this community or this type of organism to live in. So that's what we mean by, but a larger amount, if these communities are large, so we call them biomass. So if we know the range of temperature and the rain precipitation in a particular place, we can generally predict what kind of biomass is likely to occur there. An important characteristics of each biomass is its biodiversity, or the number and variety of different biological species that can live there. So this is just a structure of the different zones. The top of it is a tropical rainforest, as in Amazon area in Brazil, and it goes all the way to the savanna, the dry, very dry desert areas. So and to the to tundra, all those type of zones, and the species, we'll cover them in some details, and the species are living in those type of conditions and zones. So biomass type can be predicted based on the temperature and precipitation. Precipitation means rain found in an area. And here's the area, the green area is tropical rainforest. As you can see, the green area is tropical. It's hot, but it's rainy, hot and rainy zones or areas. Correct. So, and those areas, the tropical areas, especially those in the Amazon River, goes through many countries. I think those areas, they have a different species within a biological community. One community will have different species, and you can, as I said, this is the same other way. If you look at there's abundance of rain, dry, warm to hot type of weather, you have different species. However, on the other side, there is savanna, there is a desert, there's very limited amount of rain is coming per year. However, there are some species, they live there in the desert with the community with different type of weather conditions. Now, question to you, if you take one from the savanna, the desert type of weather or climate, and bring that species into the Amazon type of conditions or climate, you think that will survive? The answer, yes or no. It depends on how this species you are transferring from less rain, very hot desert weather to a very rainy climate. and weather, and mild temperatures, not like the desert. This species can adapt and can, through the years, DNA might change, generating a new type of amino acids and DNA or RNA, and might survive. Now, in general, the first generation will face a lot of trouble, and very few of those species transfer from one type of extreme weather to another type of extreme weather. The very few will survive if they can survive. Changing the dramatic change of conditions on a species will affect negatively on that species growth and health and well-being. So just imagine that. So you take some of those animals in the savannah, for example, in the desert area, and bring them in the Amazon. I think the first generation will have difficult times and maybe might not survive at all. So, and the opposites can be said about taking from the Amazon area to the desert area. So those type of species might not survive or will have difficulty to survive. So biomass vary with latitude. Well, this is the same thing. We have the Amazon and savanna, but we have mountainous area with high altitude, so they might have different extreme weather. The weather over there in the mountain, higher altitude, very cold, correct? It will be very cold. Different from the savanna weather and the Amazon weather. So the higher altitude, you have very cold area. That's the mountain area. So you'll have very cold area there. So, and as I said, you have different zones will affect different type of species. And you will see some of the species might not be able to live in those other than the ones they are already there and lived and reproduced themselves in one type of zoning. So many temperature-controlled biomass occur in the latitudinal bands. A band of boreal northern forest crosses Canada and Siberia. Tropical forests occur near the equator. Tropical, that's the Amazon area. Expansive grassland lie near or just beyond the tropics. Many biomass are even named for their latitude, like tropical rainforests or Arctic tundra. Vertical zoning, it's all about zones and how those creatures or organisms can live in those type of zone. Temperature and precipitation change with elevation as well as with latitude. In mountainous regions, temperatures are cooler. As I said, the higher you go in the mountains, the colder what the weather is. So you can see the top of Everest is very, very cold, icy, very, very cold. So in mountainous regions, temperatures are cooler and precipitation is usually greater at higher elevations. That's always true. Mountains are cooler and often and very often wetter than the lower elevations. Vertical zonation is a term applied to vegetation zones which are defined by altitude. So tropical rainforest, that's the Amazon area, occurs where rainfall is abundant, a lot of rain there, more than 80 inches per year, and temperatures are warm to hot. I will say warm to not very hot compared with the savanna desert climate, but mostly is warm to mild to mild hot or to mild weather there. Tropical seasonal forests have annual dry season. Many tropical regions are characterized by distinct wet and dry seasons, although temperatures remain hot year-round. These areas support tropical seasonal forests. Drought-tolerant forests that look brown and dormant in the dry season, but burst into vivid green during rainy months. These forests are often called dry tropical forests because they are dry much of the year. Now, the Amazon area, the plants are mostly, if you look and Google the whole thing, they are the opposite. They are, although they are tropical, but in that area you get them green through the years because there is a river going through. They don't really, the plants, they don't depend on the rain only. They have a river there, one of the largest rivers ever on this earth. So the plants, especially near species are living near that large river, they really don't need that much of rain. They are always green through the years. Tropical savannas and grassland are dry most of the year. That's true. That's true because there is no rain. There is no rivers there. And very rare you can see when there is a rain, there's a small tiny lakes. There's a gathered rain, fresh water there because of the rain. They have some small tiny lakes, but they have little rainfall to support the forest. They don't have forests over there in the desert. And we find open grasslands or grassland with sparse tree cover, which we call savannas. So savannas is just the desert type of zones or climate or weather, correct? Deserts are hot or cold, but always dry. Hot, cold, or always dry, that's true. Deserts occurs where precipitation the rain is very rare. It's not coming that much, less than 30 centimeters, which is divided by almost 3. That's less than 10 or less than 10 inches. Less than 10 inches, maybe 9, less than 9 inches per year. Temperate grasslands have rich soil, as in tropical latitudes. Temperate middle latitude grassland occur where there is enough rain to support abundant grass, but not enough for forest. Well, I will say in Amazon you will find the forest because you have abundant rain and abundant fresh tabor because of the river there. Amazon, there is a big river over there. However, the difference between the savanna and this land here is different. The savanna is really dry. You will see it all year long. Looks like, no green plants can be seen. But you have a middle in between this green every day in the year. That's the Amazon area, and you have non-green at all every day of the year. That's in the desert savanna climate. You have in between them, and that's the middle latitude. Those are areas with the grassland occur where there is enough rain to support abundant grass, but it's not going to the forest like in Amazon. It's not going that green all year long. So that's limited. Better than the desert, but still short to be, called Amazon type of climate there. So in Amazon, as I said, all day long in the year, this green. And those here, and then in the savanna, all long year, no green. Very rare you can see plants over there. But in some areas you get in the middle. You get green as long as there is rain, and then in the other time there is no rain, it turns out to the desert type of zoning. Temperate scrublands have a summer drought. So often dry environments support drought-adapted shrubs and trees, as well as grass. These mixed environments can be highly variable. They can also be very rich biologically. So such conditions are often described as Mediterranean scrub, or in California, chaparral. Evergreen shrubs with the small leathery leaves form dense thickets, scrub oaks, drought-resistant pines, or other small trees often cluster in sheltered valleys. What all those zoning is telling us we have different zones, then we can expect what different type of species will live on those zones. We cannot conclude that all those different zones will have the same species. Each zone, the weather there, the climate will really control type of species can live on. So for example, the animals, for example, and the birds, okay, in the desert area, they will have different type of conditions imposed on them by this type of climate. So you cannot compare them with those are the ones of those animals or birds found in the Amazon area. Are you following me here? Mm-hmm. In the Amazon area, if you can just look at the parrots and all these papagas and all those birds, they're so beautiful, so colorful. You'll not believe it. A bird has about 10 or 15 type of colors. You'll not believe it. All type of colors. You can't imagine. But if you look at the other side, the birds on the desert area, in the savanna area, they look very harsh. Mostly brown, dark black, dark brown. You'll never see a colored bird over there. So that's really conditions imposed by the climate itself. So by the climate itself there. So, and that's what it's all about. The zoning is about telling us we can expect different organisms, different species, and even if you look at the bacteria, you will come to the conclusion the bacteria in the deserts will be different type, because there's different condition, different from the bacteria found in the Amazon area. Are you following me here? So tiny bacteria you can't see with your eyes except with the microscope. Their behavior is different because this climate is controlling the outcome and the type of living conditions that this species will live on. So that's the whole idea of zoning. So don't worry about the too many zoning, but the idea is how those zoning is affecting those communities. The same thing, correct? Temperate forests can be evergreen or deciduous. So these, as we talked about this, the same thing. These forests are grouped by three types: by broad leaved, losing leaves seasonally, or evergreen, coniferous, corn bearing. Correct? So evergreen, or they can lose their leaves. They keep their leaves all year long, or they can just lose their leaves. two types. One is living. They leave their leaves are gone through different seasons, and the ones it does not depend on season. All 4 seasons, their leaves are there, present. Temperate scrublands have summer drought. Often dry environments support. We talked about this, yeah. Broad leaf forests occur throughout the world where rainfall is plentiful. In mid-latitudes, these forests are the deciduous. Deciduous, we said they are losing their what? Leaves in some seasons. In this time, in winter, they leave their leaves. They lose their leaves in winter. The loss of green chlorophyll pigment can produce brilliant color in these forests in the fall, in autumn. At lower latitude, broadleaf forest may be evergreen or drought deciduous. Southern live oaks, for example, are broadleaf evergreen trees. And some pines, some type of pines, they are 4 seasons, so it does not. They don't leave. They don't lose their leaves. They are always green, but they might lose their cones. They have some wooden cones there. Coniferous forests grow in a wide range of environmental conditions. Often they occur where moisture is limited. In cold climates, moisture is unavailable, frozen in winter. Hot climates may have seasonal drought, sandy soils, hold little moisture, and they are often occupied by conifers. Thin, waxy leaves, needles, help these trees reduce moisture loss. Temperate rainforests, that's the Amazon area. Those we can expect to have evergreen all this year long, especially those are closer to the river itself. The coniferous forests of Pacific coast grow in extremely wet conditions. The wettest coastal forests are known as temperate rainforest. A cool, rainy forest, often enshrouded in fog, covered in fog. Boreal forests lie north of the temperate zone. Because a conifer can survive winter cold, they tend to dominate the boreal forest, which is mostly pine type of trees. Dominant trees are pines, as I said, hemlocks, spruce, cedars, and fir. Boreal forests are found in Siberia, Canada, and western United States. Tundra can freeze in any month. Tundra is a treeless landscape where temperatures are below freezing most of the year. It's not a desert because they get some rain. It's not a desert. Tundra is very, very similar to the desert, but it's not. They don't have trees. But the problem is they do have still, because the temperature is very, very most of the year very below zero, correct? So they are really but there is some rains there, so they are growing some type of trees over there. So it occurs at high latitude or on mountain tops, and has growing season of only 2 or 3 months. So they do have three months of green trees there. The desert, I mean, the savanna, they don't have this type of characteristic. They are, the whole year they are just, there is no green. You'll see sometimes shrub there or here and there, but they are very limited, very, very limited. Marine ecosystem. Most marine communities depend on the, most of the marine communities depend on photosynthetic organisms. The phytoplankton, tiny free-floating photosynthetic algae often support a marine food web rather than trees or grasses. In ocean, photosynthetic activity tends to be greatest near the coastal line, where nitrogen, phosphorus, and other nutrients wash offshore and fertilize primary producers. Open ocean community varies from surface to hadal zone. Ocean system can be described by depth and proximity to shore. So we have a different type of the zoning here, and communities as well. Benthic communities occur on the bottom. Pelagic zones are the water column. The ebablic zone has photosynthesis synthetic organisms. Below are the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones. As I said, those are zones you don't have to worry about, and I think there is a picture of them here, and you can see the picture of the ocean here, of the earth here, different zoning here. You can see all those different zoning are here. Start from this one here. This is you go by their latitude. So this is hadal zone and goes all the way to the top, which is the epelagic zone. So, and there's here the height from the surface, from the ground, from the ground soil. Deep sea thermal vent communities. Deep sea thermal vent communities are another remarkable type of marine system. These communities are based on microbes that capture sulfur compounds released from thermal vents on the ocean floor. So they really work on the sulfur itself, correct? And they really consume sulfur itself by itself, so they can get converting sulfur to sulfur dioxide or sulfur trioxide in the process. And can you tell me what's the characteristic of this deep sea area or zone? What you can tell at once? Is there any light over there?
It's dark.
It's dark, so there is no sun coming in. So, and the fish over there, even the marine life, we call them like literally blind. Those are blind. They have different type of, they generated in their millions of years of their development in growth, develop different mechanisms. They can't see nothing. Dark, they are blind. However, they might have used the same thing like bats. They might send some signals, and then whatever the signal is hitting something else and come back to them, they can recognize there's something in front of them. Something like this type. I'm not sure, but this type of mechanism developed through the millions of years, not one day or 1,000 years. It takes millions of years to develop type of techniques because they have no clue. They can't see nothing. They can't see nothing. All the fish, all the marine life are really blind over there. The sun cannot go through all this deep inside the oceans. So tidal shores, tidal shore supports rich, diverse community, of course, because enough light, correct? Enough light. There is a sun there. So photosynthesis is there. You will see rain is there, and a lot of some resources are available to them. So coral reefs are really, that's the best example of different diversity of different species living together. So they are the coral reefs are really the host. They host a lot of species. You'll not believe it. Even from small tiny fish to small tiny microbes to maybe bacteria to all those type of organisms they can really host in them. So coral reefs are among the best known marine system. That's what I say, because of their extraordinary biological productivity and their diverse and beautiful organism. They really they are hosting a lot of creatures on them, and you can see if you have time and look at the YouTube. Just Google this coral reefs, and you will find a very nice videos about many creatures living on those top, sometimes inside those coral reefs themselves. Tidal shores continue. Mangroves. Mangroves are a diverse group of salt-tolerant trees that grow along warm, calm marine coasts around the world. So you have seen those not rivers, but near the oceans. Near the oceans, you will see some trees are living, so they can really tolerate salty tap water. So they can tolerate it, they can survive on it. Normal tree will die. Normal tree will die. The same like human. We can't have this larger salinity inside our body. Tidal shores continue. Estuaries and salt marshes. Estuaries are bays where rivers empty into the sea, mixing a fresh tap water with the salt tap water. Salt marshes, shallows, wetland flooded regularly or occasionally with seawater, occur on a shallow coastlines, including estuaries. We have seen that it can be found in. We went to the long time ago, couple of times. Our science club now is no longer there, but we went to Savannah and we visited some of those areas. Looks very nice. Looks very nice, and we measured the pH of and salinity of the tap water there, and it's really mixed between fresh and between fresh and the normal salty tap water. Tide pools are depressions in rocky shorelines that are flooded at high tide but retain some water at lower tide. Yeah, that's another type of zoning there, and different creatures will live in that area. Somebody will tell me what you can see from this area. Those are crabs. Those type of organisms there. Those are crabs are living in those type of areas, because whenever the whole sea or ocean tower goes away, but small tiny, they can still living at the shore with the small tiny, or at some areas with the small tiny of tower, salty tower, but they still survive. They can live in and out the sea. Fresh water ecosystems. Freshwater environment are far less extensive than marine environments, but they are centers of biodiversity. Okay, it's always that's always true because salty tap water, you can't live there because the calcium and magnesium content is so high that if a human will take it, too much of it will just destroy the kidneys, and the blood pressure will go so high that if you take too much of it, your eyes will pop out from your face because they will have a very high blood pressure will go. When your blood pressure is so high because of this salty stuff you are taking in, you might have to lose your eyes. They will pop out from your face. So therefore, you will see fresh tap water. You have a lot of communities. They can adapt. They can grow. They can survive, and they can really flourish. But salty water is always very limited communities can live on. Very limited communities. Most communities rely on some extent of freshwater environment. In desert, isolated pools, streams, and even underground tap water systems support establishing biodiversity as well as provide tap water to land animals. Lakes have extensive open tap water. Freshwater lakes, like marine environments, have distinct vertical zones. Near the surface is a subcommunity of plankton, mainly microscopic plants, animals, and protists. Fish move through the fresh tap water column, sometimes near the surface and sometimes at depth. Finally, the bottom, or benthos, is occupied by a variety of snails, burrowing worms, fish, and other organisms. And that's just show you the levels of a lake. You can see different levels of the lake with the bottom called benthos. That's the bottom one, and the upper ones called eblunion and benthos. So those are the height and how the light can go. Light and oxygen levels are in this area. So here, this area is show you. Here is the least, the bottom, the top is the most light and oxygen required to those type of marine creatures to live on. Wetlands are shallow and protective. Wetlands are shallow ecosystems in which the land surface is saturated or submerged at least part of the year. Wetlands have vegetation that's adapted to grow under saturated conditions. These relatively small systems support rich biodiversity and are essential for both breeding and migrating birds. As water stands in wetland, it also seeps into the ground, replenishing groundwater supplies. I'll stop here.